Good day, folks of Bath Chronicleville. This is the Bath Chronicles. I'm currently standing up in anticipation of another interview. You know how we sometimes do interviews on this hallowed chronicle, and we're doing one today. We're doing one with a real-life brain surgeon and artist, which is a meaty combo. We'll find out everything about that once this lady joins. So in the meantime, let me just do some usual Bath Chronicles shit. And then, hello Janetta, I'm going to be calling you back. First of all, I just saw this advert for a brand of tampon. It felt quite odd.
Some people think being a woman means being overly soft and delicate. But watch me put up a fight when I need to.
Be soft and strong, even on your period, with always new platinum range. Our best of comfort and protection thanks to its unique microabrasion barriers. You always
So, Doc, you need to request to join this video.
Being a woman.
Otherwise, okay. Here's a building I saw earlier. It looks like it's about to fall over. Very weird. So Doc is going to be hopefully requesting to join this video, then the Chronicles can begin. In the meantime, let's give you some general levy. Boom. Right, I think the Doc is going to be joining us.
Hey!
Hello! How's it
Hi,
going?
Oliver. How are you?
I'm very good indeed. Welcome to the Bath Chronicles.
Thanks. Okay, great. Nice to be here. I'm going to turn up the volume. So there you go.
Fantastic. Well, where to begin? Once upon a time, I guess I must have come across your Instagram profile, as one does in this modern era, and discovered what you do, which is a combination of, well, you're a brain surgeon, but you're also an artist.
Yep. At least when I checked yesterday, I was.
Oh well, it's always good to double check. Sorry, I've just in the bath as a pineapple, which is full of water.
Yeah, everything's always in flux.
Yeah.
Between between what you are and what you were yesterday and what you will be tomorrow.
And that's
everything always changes.
Is that because of the brain or just life?
I think both. The living brain.
Wow. That's a big concept. That's a big concept for me to get my head around. I haven't had as much sleep as I should usually.
I see.
It is Saturday, so that's okay.
Oh my God! I see all the. I see a few friends joining.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Nice. So I think we should go back to the beginning.
Okay.
So, how did the young you develop an interest in this particular field of science, really?
Well, I always, I think it started during medical school. And actually during neuroanatomy, I became interested in the human brain, but I was always interested in evolution, coming from the primates, how the cerebral cortex developed, particularly the frontal lobes, coming from the primates up, and just began to think about the brain, especially when I got to dissect it in neuroanatomy during medical school. And I just kind of fell in love with it because at that time the knowledge base for the brain was small. It's gotten a lot better now. It's gotten a lot bigger now, but it's still probably the thing we know least about on Earth.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's so complex because when you think about it, the entity that we're using to study the brain is our own brains. And so we're studying an organ that we're actually we're actually using as a tool to understand. And so it's a complicated process. But I find it infinitely fascinating, and I think it's something that would hold my interest my whole life. Is learning about the human brain and also looking at other animals too. I'm very interested in how the brain works in different animals, and the lower forms. The reptiles, and because that's how the brain evolved, is starting to move up the evolutionary chain.
I see. So
Yeah.
in terms of sort of animals, what animals have those kind of similar brains, sort of humans?
Well, the primates are very close, but also I find a very interesting branch in evolution was when from the reptiles on. So the birds came from the reptiles, but the reptiles have a very interesting brain because from there it actually took off in terms of developing the cerebral cortex. I think the reptiles have an interesting cerebellum, and they're beginning to develop the different mammillary behavior changed. They went from becoming like the amphibians to the eggs. So the whole process did develop after the reptiles. But I think the reptilian brain is very, very important because it's an old brain. And it leads me to be very interested in a portion of the brain called the cerebellum, which has been referred to as more of a primitive motor functioning. But it's becoming more and more interesting as we learn more about brain function.
And in terms of learning about brain function,
Yeah.
is that I suppose the way to do that is whether it's for example, if you were looking at a reptile's brain, wouldn't you have to remove certain bits of the brain and to see that what effect it would have on that reptile? Isn't that the only way you can?
Well, I wouldn't like to do that to a reptile.
No.
I really like reptiles.
Sure.
But I think the behavior, if you observe the reptilian behavior, and there is some data, I'm not up with the latest of reptilian REM sleep, but supposedly reptiles do not dream. And so there's some fundamental change that happened after the reptiles moved to mammals that had something to do with sleep. And so sleep and REM sleep became very fundamentally important to the brain as it developed.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that I find interesting. I thought a lot about sleep during residency in neurosurgery because, the amount of hours you sleep is sort of the currency the next morning on rounds. How many hours did you sleep? 2. And so I thought a lot about sleep and the importance of sleep and the importance of REM in sleep. And so I did a lot of studying on my own about it and with the reptiles and the birds, because I think the only way you can understand the brain functioning is to go back in time and go back in time to understand how the brain evolved and to go forward to the future with different technology, which is helping because there's different ways of studying the brain now with MRI and other technology like that helps us understand the brain.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So, as you sort of began to specialise in this area of study, was drawing just something was like a way to aid study, aid understanding, and it just sort of just continued?
I always was visually oriented, but I didn't really know I didn't know I could draw or anything like that until I would say about 12 years ago. So I was pretty far along. Yeah, I was far along in my career where, my career was very stable. And so at that point, I thought that I would express myself artistically. I thought I was going to be a writer because I do a lot of writing. But I don't know, it just came out. It's an interesting concept that, your past does catch up to you. And somehow, and if you let it come out, your life and your career will be higher.
Sure.
So stifling dreams, stifling skills, stifling or forgetting about them, because neurosurgery is a very focused field, and you have to almost give up. You give up a lot to become a neurosurgeon. It's totally worth it. It's totally worth it. But what I'm advocating is to take what you were before you became a neurosurgeon and bring it forward and keep it, because, like I said, your life and career will be higher if you integrate as many of your goals, dreams, and skills into your current profession as you can. And it certainly meant that for me. But I also wanted a way to express the narrative portion of medicine instead of in writing, in visual format.
Yeah.
So a lot of my work has to do with the experience of the patients. And the works don't represent any patient at all. They're kind of a conglomerate of patients.
Sure.
I'll take an ear from somebody. I'll take a nose from somebody. I've even put my own mouth in. But they represent the narrative story of the human experience of somebody facing a life and death crisis, and how they manage to jump that gap and get to the other side. And that's basically the premise of my artistic work with respect to neurosurgery.
It's sort of fascinating the style, the sort of the varying styles you have, and the kind of in essence a real mishmash of different kinds of imagery, but they always work to illustrate the story so well.
Yeah, I mean, I like to do humor too, and so painting is a rough medium for humor, and so that's why I sort of went to cartooning, and I work with we have a group called the Hobbloods, and it's two of us that work together and do cartoons. And most of them are medical themes. Some of them are dealing with hardships. And most of them, we try to be inspirational with it. It's more of an inspirational medium, but I like humor.
Yeah.
And so, painting is rough to make jokes on. So I make the jokes in the cartooning, But I saw some of your stuff has to do with not really humor, but more irony. And so you've managed to incorporate that into your artwork.
I guess there are flashes of irony. I suppose, I guess irony is the thing. But it's not always as intended, but sometimes it is more so. Like you'll have, a shop with a very happy, upbeat sort of capitalist message, and there'll be someone just completely, devoid from that. But that's just how things are.
I've enjoyed your work. It also does. It's great. It also has a lot of cerebral, in thinking. There's a lot of thinking behind your work. It's not. It's narrative too, but it's also thinking. You've put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah, I suppose so. Partly because I have sort of no idea, in one sense, what I kind of am, which I think is okay. I think when I was younger, there was a bit more of a like, you've got to be this thing, you've got to be that thing. Your mum telling you one thing, that will sell, all that. But then you're like, well, I haven't quite found the sort of the right beat of my drum yet. There's still a bit more kind of, that's not quite gone on tour yet, guys. And it's kind of been like that ever since, which I think is okay. As I've got older, I've been okay with that. And I think, this is another way of saying it's quite good to embrace your failures.
Well, the thing with, it's easy to win. It's easy to be a winner. It's rough to fail, but you need to learn from the failures and move ahead. And one of the tasks that I found in life is that it's really hard to find out what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And if you do find it, that's a kind of a gift. And you can consider yourself lucky because it's hard, and sometimes it doesn't come until late.
Yeah.
Where you reach a stage in life and you feel a sort of a peace. And I'm not talking about success. I'm talking about inner peace where, you feel like during this one chance on earth that you have done what you are, not what you're supposed to do, what's in your heart to do. And you have incorporated your skill set, your unique skill set, into something that has made a difference to yourself and maybe a few others, maybe a few others.
That's interesting. But
yeah.
In one sense, you sort of you can't really call when that time's going to occur. It just happens. So it's almost about being.
Yeah. Some people are really lucky. They know early.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then some of us sort of, like myself, stumble along, and then all of a sudden it just sort of comes together. Mine came together when I incorporated art into neurosurgery. Prior to that, I was very happy, not happy, but I was very challenged and satisfied and fulfilled doing neurosurgery, but there was a part missing. I wasn't able to communicate the humanity and the lyrical side of what I was experiencing. And when I finally brought art into my neurosurgical practice, it's sort of, her circle closed. And I realized that I had been stifling a part of me for a very long time. And even though I was, doing neurosurgery to the best of my ability and with all my heart, there was still a part missing. And that part came together when I was able to incorporate music, video, painting, drawing, and also cartooning with medical themes. Then it all sort of made sense.
Yeah. Do you think in some sort of ways, because someone doing the thing you're doing, which is extremely high pressure, I'm sure very long hours, intense focus, a kind of almost a Benedictine monk approach to sort of professional practice. Do you think drawing and these other sort of creative outlets are almost a kind of cathartic process, almost a sort of like washing your day away sort of thing?
I always said that it begins with a scalpel and ends with a brush.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I say about my art neurosurgery practice. But, a lot of people will say, like, at the hospital, they'll say, it must be so relaxing to go home and paint. And I've always contended that doing art at a level that I consider up to my ability is not relaxing.
Sure.
It's not relaxing. It requires intense focus. You get very frustrated. You want to, when it doesn't work, you want to turn that canvas to the wall. So it's very, very frustrating, and it requires the same level of concentration, determination. Doing art at the level that I want to do it requires the same level of concentration, determination, practice, and persistence as neurosurgery does. The stakes are different. The stakes are different, though. But it's not. No, it's not a relaxing thing. It's I'm very passionate about doing art to the best of my ability. I'm neurosurgery passionate about doing art to the highest level that I can. Yeah.
Wow. So not much time to relax then, by the sounds of it.
Well, I got 30 minutes.
Well, at least you make time for that.
Social media.
Yeah.
Social media is a kind of relaxing. Yeah.
A lighter place. Because it can be quite a friendly place, social media. Obviously, there's now everyone who's alive and growing up will only know the internet, will only know these things that mean that people are recording life like they never used to. Also, anything that happens, they can document it and almost use it against the person. It's a real different landscape to I would have grown up.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I find it fascinating, and I'm glad I got on social media, and I'm really hopeful that it's the young generation is going to use it not as a weapon, but as a means to connect everybody in the world and to make ideas circulate faster.
Yeah.
So I'm real hopeful, and the people that I interact with on Instagram are fabulous.
Yeah.
I just oh my goodness, and the the young generation has taught me so much, and I've formed a lot of nice partnerships and friends on Instagram. And there's a guy that I do videos with. His name is his handle is Med School Radio, and he does a lot. Yeah, we work together. We do a lot of videos. I'm very interested in music, and so that music is more of a hobby for me. Yeah. So we incorporate in our videos, and they're medically oriented, but there's a tons of messages in our videos. The music has a message. Why we picked that song. And sometimes we put little clues in. So it seems like maybe this is about a intracerebral hematoma, a brain bleed. Maybe this video is about a brain bleed. But there's so many different messages in there that it's fun for us. Yeah. We're creating a lot of puzzles that if somebody ever went back and they're 1 minute videos, and so we consider ourselves the purveyor of 1 minute medical videos.
Nice, okay. Gets to the point.
Yeah.
Interesting. And what kind of, do you compose music, or?
I beg your pardon?
Compose music?
No, I don't. I don't have that ability. No. We pick music from a wide spectrum of, different musicians. Okay. All the way from the 40s to contemporary, and just based on special meanings and things that mean a lot to us.
So, what are some sort of contemporary musicians, artists that you like?
Well, we just did a video with Halsey, not with Halsey, but we just put together a video using some of Halsey's work, and I find her brilliant. I think she's absolutely brilliant. Swedish. So I just. Yeah, she's smart too, and so there's something about the young and music that has to do with the way the brain develops. Because if you look at a musician's life cycle, they seem to hit, except for exceptions that continue to produce music their whole life, but they seem to be most fertile in their 20s. And maybe early 30s. And this is an unscientific observation, but that's what I seem to think is the musicians seem to peak early, as compared to poets who peak later. And so it's very interesting the way the brain works. I think music is fundamentally important to brain development, and that's why I think we're so attracted to music when we're young.
Interesting.
The idea is to keep listening, though, and to keep listening not to get stuck in the era you were when you were 18, but to keep listening to music before your time and after your time, and as it goes. Otherwise you get your musical taste sort of collapses around when you were between 18 and 30. But in order to keep your brain listening to new sounds and new harmonies and new words and phrases and lyrics, it's important to keep listening to music as you go on. So anyway, that's just our philosophy with myself and Med School Radio.
Well, I certainly agree with what you just said about keeping listening to music. I always remember people saying that people listen to the music when they were happiest as well. So whether that was 18 to 30 or a specific thing, but it's good to keep on moving. Happiness is ephemeral.
Yeah.
So you just got to keep keeping on.
Yeah. What I find is that I cannot paint, draw, or do any art unless there's music playing. Yeah. And so that's one thing interesting. Whereas in the operating room, because it's a little touchy about music in the operating room. And so, because there's a wide spectrum of people there, and so if you play one thing that somebody doesn't like, then it becomes a little bit of a auditory distraction. So I don't play music in the operating room. But maybe I have something in my head, but I don't play music in the operating room. I just listen. The music for me in the operating room is the sound of the anesthesia machine, the sound of the heartbeat, and the sound of the cranial drill. That's my orchestra in the operating room.
Okay.
And it's really beautiful.
Yeah. So typically, how big are the sort of teams that you have around you in that kind of environment?
Oh, there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, anywhere from 5 to 10, coming, you know, helping, assisting, and things like that. Yeah.
It must be. It's sort of having to go to work every day and have a very specific kind of concentration. I mean, I suppose you've had to learn how to be like that over time, but it must be.
You have to have a laser focus.
Yeah.
You have to have laser focus, attention to detail, and you have to be very observant.
Mm.
And it's kind of like the same thing as being an artist.
Yeah.
I mean, what does an artist do? Is an artist is an observer, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're in fine art, representational art. You know, you have to really, you know, is that a little bit of green there in the, you know, in the eyelid? Is that, you know, stuff like that people won't really pay attention to. But I think my observational skills really picked up after I learned how to paint.
Yeah. And did you do any courses, or were you just kind of self-taught painting-wise?
No, I got a master's of fine art. I went I was taking some classes at the Y in the United States. We have this thing called the YMCA, the YWCA. So I was taking some classes, and I was just so terrible. And so I said, okay, you know, during as I was an attending neurosurgeon at that time. So I would go every Wednesday night for 2 hours. I was so bad. And so I said, okay, either you're going to quit or you're going to go back and get the fundamentals. Mm. And I was missing the fundamentals. You know how light strikes an object, and then, you know, the shadows and the contrast, and as it turns over the object. That's really scientific, by the way. It's not even an artistic. It's just simply the way the light waves work. Yeah. But you have to understand how they hit an object and how you can how you transform that into something on paper when you're drawing, so that it creates a three-dimensional impression. And so you know, the difference between art and science is very minimal. Because when you think about it, even the color palette is an electromagnetic spectrum. Yeah. Right? The visual, you know, the colors are, you know, they're lined up with different wavelengths. So us having a science background and going into art was really helpful. But anyway, I missed the fundamentals, and so taking those courses at the Y, so I went back and I got the fundamentals down, and it took a long time, and you know, but it was worth it. It's totally worth it. I highly recommend it, and you know, sure, I highly recommend going to art school or some kind of formal training. Yeah. You know, I wasn't really gifted naturally. So I had to go ahead and learn, you know, how to do stuff, and then use my own passion and my own perspective to bring it into art. You know, when in art school, you know, I was doing, you know, like painting flowers and stuff like that. And one guy just tapped me on my shoulder, and he said, you know, just give it up. And I was like really hurt. I was like, oh my goodness. You know, I was like really hurt. I was like, well, you know, give it up. What do you mean give it up? He goes, yeah. Just you know, start painting what you know. You know, and so I was like, you know, I was shaking a little bit upset. And then I thought about it, and I said, yeah, why am I painting flowers? Yeah. So the gal next to me paints flowers like a you know, a queen. I mean, she's amazing. I'm never going to be like that. But I said, well, what do I know? What do I really know that nobody else in this class? And so I started that day. I never painted flowers again. I painted, you know, medical themes. Yeah. And that guy was right. I remember. I mean, I'm grateful to him for being so bluntly honest.
Yeah. Well, that can be a great tool. Yeah. Being bluntly honest. Yeah. Which people aren't.
Yeah. You know, I think, you know, and criticism too is valuable as an artist, because, you know, I had posted a medical illustration drawing on another platform called Figure One. Yeah. and somebody wrote and said that they didn't like it. And then some of my the people that I interact with sort of supported me and said, "Oh, it supported me." And then I thought about it. First I was a little bit hurt, and then I thought about it, and I said, an artist needs to take criticism. We need to listen to criticism also, because it's valuable. I guess even a neurosurgeon needs to listen to. We all need to listen to criticism, as long as it's meant not to hurt you.
Well, it's criticism.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Which I think is
as long as it's meant like I have colleagues from art school who I will hit up, and I'll say, "What do you think about this?" And he'll say every single time, I trust him eminently, and he'll say, "You didn't really need to put that operating room light in, did you?" And then I'll go back and look at, and I'll say, "Yeah, he's right."
Yeah.
But he means it to help me. He doesn't mean it to cut me down. And so that's the difference, is that people give you criticism or constructive ideas to try to help you get better. And so that's what I really value, that kind of stuff.
Sure. No.
Not the bullying and things like that. Yeah.
No, I completely agree. I mean, yeah, when it's meant, to enhance and to not be reductive, then it's definitely a good thing. I mean, funny enough, I just wrote a critique of another artist's work in an exhibition. And I wasn't that complimentary about it, partly because I was struggling to find what the meaning was behind it all. And within the context, it was sort of, it was trying to, it had a feel of trying to be a bit like Rembrandt drawings, but they're pretty large scale. But I didn't feel like the artist's soul I didn't really get I didn't know why it was there. And that kind of pissed me off.
Yeah.
I mean, not that this is entirely related, but it's sort of like, where's the message in what you're doing? Even if your message is not having a message, I need to know that's your message.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I think, one time on another platform, I posted a painting or a piece of art, and I said, "What do you guys think from this? What do you think of it?" And I got 20 different answers.
Yeah.
And so it sort of made me think that, maybe somebody's getting, people are getting different things from the art that have nothing to do with what I had intended, which is really okay. I'm okay with that. Sometimes, though, on a different platform, not Instagram, they'll ask me a lot of questions about the art, and I tend to like to say, it's just there.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. I don't really want to explain it, but if you get something from it that makes you ponder something, I'm happy.
Yours is, by and large, falls into the category of sort of illustration. You're illustrating the human experience within this context. Your work has an overall meaning. And so it doesn't need a detailed explanation. Your overarching theme is very clear. So that's things within that canon. They may come from different angles and different kind of levels of what one would want. If something looks a bit too cartoony and to do something that's kind of a brutal thing, some people can see that as a bit macabre. But then,
I like to move around the spectrum, though. I like to, I like to post something that's, sort of provoking, thought provoking, and then I switch to humor. Because that's sort of the way my brain works. Is I like to move around the spectrum a lot. I don't want to be boxed in, and I encourage also, because medicine has a way of making you singular.
Sure.
And because it requires so much dedication, so many years of giving up things, and one of my passionate messages is try not to get boxed in. Try not to forget, all the things that mean a lot to you. You can't do everything, but you can do more than one thing.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah.
If you want to. Some people don't want to. Some people are very, very passionate and just happy about doing medicine.
Yeah.
But if you have something, if something feels missing, then you just gotta go for it. you gotta find what's missing, and bring it and grab it and chase it down like a dog going for the bone. Just get it. Life is one pass through Earth.
Yeah.
Chase it down.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's my message.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't agree with that message more. I think everyone should realise that, because often people cover up what they really want with something else, and that can result in all kinds of bad shit, substance abuse, alcohol, or whatever, anything excessive to kind of con yourself into.
Yeah, I think so. I think because it's hard to the first thing you have to do is you have to figure out what you really want to do during your trip. Your trips around the sun.
Yeah.
And then so that's really a hard task. That's a hard task to do, Yeah.
But it's good to try and figure out at least keep on trying whilst you're here. So being sod it. That didn't work. Let's just chill. That's not really good.
Yeah, I think the thing is, even to try, like somebody will write to me and say, I don't know if I can paint or anything like that, but I'm interested in it. Well, you just try. Trying is worth a lot.
Well, exactly.
Trying is everything. I think maybe trying is what's important, really.
And trying is free, apart from the food you need to eat.
And the other thing that I really I think made a big difference in my life, but it doesn't have anything to do with career. It's switching to the left hand.
Okay.
That's a fundamentally important thing for me, and it just I don't have any scientific proof, but I think it changed a little bit my functional ability, and it just, I don't know, it changed everything for me in terms of cerebral functioning, and it helped a lot. So being able to do stuff with both hands, I wasn't born like that, but being able to do stuff with both hands has made a big difference in both neurosurgery and art.
So is this because you forced yourself to use the left?
No, because in medical, I forced myself. But in medical school, we were writing. I keep saying we were writing back then. We actually had pens and paper in medical school back then. We were taking notes, and now it's completely different. When I go to the medical schools now, they're on their lap pads and laptops and stuff like that. That's how they typing. But when we were writing, my hand got so tired, and I would kind of get a little bit lethargic, and so in order to stay peppy and listen to the lectures, because there were hours of lectures, I switched hands, which caused me to concentrate, and drop the pen a few times too. But and eventually I became able to do stuff with both hands, and that has made the biggest difference. But it was really hard. It's really hard to do.
Do you feel like both your hands have a kind of equilibrium, like both are equal value to you? Because I'm thinking about it now, and I'm thinking, well, my right hand is what I do most of. The left is I can lose the left. Whereas now, you probably think both hands are great.
Well, if you lost your right, you'd be sunk. You'd have to relearn. It wouldn't be impossible. You would do it. So I just say, I said, why not just use both?
Yeah.
Why not just force yourself? Why not just reprogram your brain to a certain extent and just just, why not just ignore, why ignore it?
Yeah.
I mean, you have it. So it involves, it's like a mental, sort of exercise in trying to, being, handedness has to do with the way your brain is organized. And so, since I'm organized as a right-hander, my left hemisphere is what we consider dominant.
Yeah.
And I thought during medical school that I would do a sort of an experiment on myself and reorganize my brain.
Yeah.
And this was in my 20s, by the way. And so I switched hands. And yeah, it took a long time. It's like learning a different language. The brain does change when you incorporate new information, new protein gets laid down, memory, this and that. And so I decided to, it wasn't really a conscious, I didn't really think about it. As the years have gone by, I kind of learned more about the brain and I realized what I did. But, because I just thought, let me just stay awake for this lecture. So I switched hands.
Yeah.
But as the years went by, I think it was more fundamentally important to do that than anything else I've done to allow me to, be the best neurosurgeon I can and allow me to be as creative as I can. So somebody's writing that they're trying to do it. Charu, thank you. She's somebody's writing they're trying to become ambidextrous too.
Great.
It's cool. Great. Keep it up.
Nice. I've actually got quite a good question that's just disappeared from the screen, but someone asked whether you envisage you'd be living this kind of the life that you are when you're in medical school.
No, because I didn't draw.
Yeah.
I hadn't touched, I don't even know what charcoal was, to be honest with you, I didn't know anything about art, but I knew that as the years went by in neurosurgery, that something was missing.
Yeah.
I got a lot of joy from the patients. I got a lot of intellectual stimulation from neurosurgery and my colleagues. But something inside my heart was missing. It was more of an emotional thing, a way to express the crisis, somebody going through a crisis, the patients, the difficulty with surgery, the beauty of the brain. The beauty of the brain is the beauty of the living human brain.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it on Earth.
Yeah.
You go into an operating room. I'm doing surgery. We do a craniotomy, which is removing the bone flap, and the brain, opening the dura, which is the covering of the brain, exposing the cortex. That every single time till this day, the wound goes silent.
Yeah.
For a few seconds, because the beauty of the living human brain is incomparable. It's like looking at the moon. It's just it's stunning. And because you realize innately that it's something extremely powerful.
Yeah.
And whatever you're looking at an exposed human brain. Of course, you honor the patient that brain is, and you treat it with high respect. But you can't get away from the physical beauty of it. And then the operating room goes silent for a few seconds, and then after that we quickly go back to business. But there is always a pause, a slight pause when the brain is exposed. Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I wanted to convey to people who wouldn't get the opportunity to get close to what it is to be a doctor, a surgeon. Is that you have the honor of putting a scalpel on someone's skin. You have a lot of responsibility. You don't make a move in surgery without thinking about that patient or the patient's family.
Yeah.
Every single step you think about them.
Yeah.
And and so that's what that's what I'm trying to bring, and that's what was missing is my ability to communicate this to other people who would eventually take my place in surgery, and who may end up being a patient And so anyway, that's what I was, that's what was missing.
Yeah.
And that's why I went into, that's why I somehow migrated into visual art.
Yeah. Well, it's fantastic on so many levels, but also to hear you talk about, your career and your thoughts and things. I hope more people will get to hear this at some point.
Well, Oliver, I really thank you for the opportunity. I've followed you for over, oh boy, has it been a year and a half now? I think it's been a year and a half. And I really appreciate the opportunity and your interest in going outside your field, which is art, and wanting to learn a little bit more about what, a surgeon goes through.
Sure.
And so, thank you so much, Oliver, for the opportunity to talk with you.
Great.
And, I hope we can do it again.
That would be nice. It would be nice to catch up. And I'll let you, because you're on New York time there?
New York time,
New York time.
Yeah.
So it's the sort of beginning of your Saturday. You work today, it's a day off.
Today I will be working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well,
So
keep on doing what you're
So
doing.
thank you.
And I will let you know when this goes onto YouTube. That's where it will end up.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right, we did.
Okay.